We just got done ranking the best shortstop for every team in baseball, and now we're gonna rank every team's best third baseman, and it seems like the position is deeper than ever now, so let's get it going. Number 30 is gonna be Brett Baty for the New York Mets. This was Brett Baty's first go-around as the Mets everyday starter, and it went less than ideal for the highly touted prospect. He finished with a 598 OPS with an OPS plus of 65 and a -1 B WAR. He also didn't play well in the field, -5 defensive runs saved and -4 outs above average. However, Baty is still young, and there's still a lot of upside here, but so far it hasn't been that great. Number 29 is gonna be Nick Senzel of the Washington Nationals, and Senzel was at one point considered a top prospect with the Reds. He was drafted in the first round in 2016, but just hasn't figured it out. Last year was his best offensive season since his rookie year, but that doesn't really say much. He finished with an OPS of 696 and an OPS plus of 85. He will have plenty of chances to try to continue to figure out with Washington, though. Maybe he can find that talent that we all saw when he got drafted. Number 28 is going to be Anthony Rendon of the Los Angeles Angels. It's no secret that we haven't really seen the best of Anthony Rendon the last 3 years. I have no doubt that Rendon still has some skill, but we haven't been able to see that skill. And one of the best abilities to have is availability. And he hasn't played more than 50 games in either of the last 3 years. And when he has been on the field, we haven't seen that skill. After 43 games last year, he finished with 2 home runs and a 678 OPS or an 88 OPS plus. He also had -5 defensive runs saved in that amount of time. Honestly, I don't think we're ever going to see Rendon be a productive player again. And with how he's talked to the media the past couple years, I don't really think he cares. Number 27 is going to be Sal Frelick of the Milwaukee Brewers. Sal Frelick is kind of a weird one to rank. He was a rookie last year, and he was all right in about 200 at-bats. He was one of the Brewers' top outfield prospects, but Milwaukee has basically come forward to say that he will be playing third base in 2024. But he's never played third base in professional baseball at all. He played really great defense in the outfield in his time last year and has upside with the bat. I'm not really sure I can rank him higher due to not playing the position before and also not having an established track record with the bat. It's going to be interesting to watch this play out. Brewers fans, what do you think of him playing third? I'm interested to hear your thoughts. Number 26 is going to be Isaiah Kiner-Falefa of the Blue Jays. The Blue Jays just signed IKF to a 2-year deal pretty early into the offseason. He can pretty much play everywhere, but he's going to get the majority of his reps at third this year. With the bat, IKF is not very impressive, doesn't really hit for power, doesn't really get on base. He ended last year with a 646 OPS and a 78 OPS plus, but he does play decent defense though. He had 3 defensive runs saved at third for the Yankees last year in only 26 games, so there is some upside there. However, with the Jays wanting to make a deep playoff push this year, this is definitely a downgrade from Matt Chapman. Number 25 is going to be Gio Urshela of the Detroit Tigers. Urshela was signed by the Tigers to be their primary third baseman, and he's always been a guy that can give you a decent contact hole, and he did that for the Angels last year. He only gave the Angels 228 at bats, but gave them a 299 average. The problem is that offensively, that's pretty much all they got from him. He doesn't really hit for power and has never been a guy to take his walks, and he finished with an OPS plus of 91. But he did play pretty good defense last year with 6 defensive runs saved, so it will be interesting to see what we get out of Gio Urshela over a full year at third for Detroit. Number 24 is going to be Ramon Urias of the Baltimore Orioles. The Orioles have talked about putting Gunnar at short and Holiday at second when he gets the call, so that likely means that Ramon Urias will get the starts at third until Holiday gets called up. Now, Ramon Urias took a step backward defensively last year with -9 outs above average, but he's 1 year removed from having a really good defensive year in 2022, where he won the Gold Glove. And last year, he was about average with the bat, a 703 OPS and a 98 OPS plus. He did hit 16 home runs in 2022, but he only hit 4 last year, so the power has gone away a little bit. Hopefully, he can get back to that level where he was defensively in 2022, and hopefully he gives us a little bit more power this year. Number 23 is going to be Josh Rojas of the Seattle Mariners. Rojas was traded to the Mariners in the Paul Sewald trade last year, and before he came over to Seattle, he was doing pretty poorly with an OPS of 589. But in Seattle, he performed much better with an OPS plus of 103 and an OPS of 721. He has never really hit for power, but was an above average hitter in 21 to 2022, which is what he did in Seattle when he arrived. He plays okay defense, -2 defensive runs saved, but 6 outs above average last year. Seattle is looking for him to do what he did when he arrived from Arizona offensively, which is an OPS plus of around 100. Number 22 is going to be Yoan Moncada of the Chicago White Sox. Now, he just hasn't lived up to the Moncada we all thought he would be after 2019. Last year, he was around average with an OPS of 730 and an OPS plus of 97. He's going to hit you some home runs. He hit 11 last year and 334 at-bats, but he's been really bad with taking walks with only 20 last year. And he was also not great on defense with a -6 defensive runs saved. And realistically, I should be putting him lower, but his batted ball profile is a little bit better than some guys below him on this list. And the former good years he's had in 2021 and 2019 keep me from dropping him further, but it's getting to the point where we can't look back in the past and think he's going to have years like that again. Number 21 is going to be DJ LeMahieu of the New York Yankees. The soon-to-be 36-year-old has been very consistent the last 3 years. He's played at least 125 games, and the OPS has always been around the low 700s. He also played some decent defense with 3 defensive runs saved and 1 outs above average. He also had a bit more pop last year with 15 home runs compared to 12 and 10 the previous 2 years. But his K rate did go from about 13% in 2022 and 2021 to 22% last year, which could be a sign of things to come. Although I hope not. It's just something to keep an eye out for though. The Yankees really need him to be productive this year, but he is getting older and this could be the start of his regression. Number 20 is going to be JD Davis of the Oakland Athletics. Davis was just signed by the A's and will go directly to the middle of that lineup. He has been known for his bat, but last year was a bit of a step back. He slashed 248, 325, and 413 for an OPS of 738 and an OPS plus of 103. He's kind of a puzzling defender as well, putting up a -6 defensive runs saved, but an outs above average of +6. He played the most games and had the most at-bats of his career last year, so maybe fatigue could have played a factor into his lower offensive output. Going to Oakland will certainly give him a chance to beat last year's mark as he will play every day, but going from pitcher-friendly park to another pitcher-friendly park is not necessarily going to help him much. But his track record of having a good to very good OPS plus will put him in the top 20 for me. Number 19 is going to be Maikel Garcia of the Kansas City Royals. He did not have a fantastic rookie season with the bat, finishing with an OPS of just under 700 and an OPS plus of 88, but there are some very encouraging things about his bat. He was in the 87th percentile in average exit velocity, 93rd percentile in hard hit percentage. He doesn't whiff, he doesn't chase. There's also a lot to like there defensively. Even though he ended up with -2 defensive runs saved last year, he showed off his range with 16 outs above average. He only hit 4 home runs last year, but I would not be surprised if he popped 15 plus next year. He hits the ball incredibly hard. He just needs to get a little bit of lift to it. This is a guy that can really put it all together and move up this list quite quickly, and I'm super excited to watch this happen. Number 18 is going to be Alec Bohm of the Philadelphia Phillies. This will be Alec's 4th full season as the everyday third baseman for the Phils, and he's gotten better every year. His OPS has gone from 647 to 713 to 765 last year. He also set career highs in home runs with 20 and doubles with 31. He cut down on the strikeouts with less than 100 and has gotten a little bit better about taking walks with 42 last year. However, he's been a pretty awful fielder the last few years, but he has made improvements. He went from -17 defensive runs saved to -10 defensive runs saved in 2023. It's still not good, but it is an improvement nonetheless. So you gotta like the way he is trending. If Alec Bohm takes another step forward at the plate this year, that makes the Phillies lineup that much more dangerous and that much deeper. Number 17 is going to be Eugenio Suarez of the Arizona Diamondbacks, and he's been kind of up and down for the last couple years. Suarez has always been known for hitting home runs, but in 2023 he only hit 22, which is down from 31 the previous 2 years. His OPS plus was still 101, but it's not something you like to see. So overall it was a down year with the bat, but he improved defensively quite a bit. He showed off his range with 11 outs above average, which is a massive improvement, and he finished with a 3.2 F-WAR. But most of that came with the glove, which is extremely surprising for his past. I'm not sure what we're going to get with Eugenio Suarez in 2024, but I think playing at Chase Field will get those home run numbers back up to where they used to be the past couple years. Number 16 is going to be Jeimer Candelario of the Cincinnati Reds. With Marte being suspended for half the season for PEDs, this newly appointed Red will be taking a lot of reps at third base to begin the year. And Jeimer had a very solid year last year overall, slashing 251 with a 336 on base and a 471 slugging for an 807 OPS and a 119 OPS plus. He had a career high 22 home runs in the process as well. He doesn't have a great defensive game, but you kind of know what you're going to get defensively. He's been a pretty consistent force at the plate the last several years as well. He did have a bit of a dud in 2022, putting up an OPS plus of 81, but the lowest OPS plus he's had since 2020 otherwise has been 119. His new home field is also a hitter's paradise, so I wouldn't be surprised if he put up a new career high in home runs. Number 15 is going to be Ryan McMahon of the Colorado Rockies. McMahon's always been one of those guys who can do a little bit with the bat. He's popped at least 20 home runs every year he's been the starting third baseman, besides 2020, which was the shortened season. But despite this, he's never been able to put up an OPS plus of over league average because his home field is at Coors. He had an 816 OPS at Coors while having a sub 700 OPS everywhere else. So it looks like the Coors effect is in play here. But where McMahon really shines is on the defensive side of things. He put up 17 defensive runs saved and 8 outs above average. He's always been a defensive wizard, and if he puts it together offensively, he's going to improve his overall game for sure and will be moving up this list. It's crazy to think that there's someone better than him defensively in the National League, but we'll get to him. Number 14 is going to be Jake Berger of the Miami Marlins, and this is where it starts to get a little bit interesting. This was Jake Berger's first full season in the bigs, and he crushed the ball. He slashed 250 with a 309 on base and a 518 slugging percentage for an 828 OPS and a 120 OPS plus. He hit 34 homers, which is a great first full season. He does strike out a lot, but if you're hitting the ball like that, then it's less of an issue. But if he weren't so rough in the field, he'd be higher. He had a negative defensive run saved and a -9 outs above average at third base. But he's really not here to field. He's here to hit some bombs, which he hit a lot of. And I hope he continues to do that because the Miami Marlins are going to need that force in the middle of their lineup. Number 13 is going to be Christopher Morel of the Chicago Cubs. And Morel is finally getting the chance to be the everyday third baseman for the Cubs. And if he puts it all together, he can be an absolute beast. Last year, he slashed 247 with a 313 on base and a 508 slugging for an OPS of 821 and an OPS plus of 116. Now, these are similar numbers to Berger, but I have to give the slight edge to Morel as a player due to his base running ability. And even though he's not the best defender, he has an amazing arm which gives him an advantage. And if he plays 150 games, I have no doubt that he can hit 35 plus home runs this year. When I hear the team Chicago Cubs, Christopher Morel is not really one of the first names that I think of, but I think that could change after this year. Number 12 is going to be Max Muncy of the Los Angeles Dodgers. And it looked like Muncy might have been starting to regress in 2022, but in 2023, it looked like he was somewhat back to his normal self. It does seem like the days of him hitting 250 or above are over, but he can still give you 30 plus bombs with an OPS over 800. He's not the best third baseman defensively, and in an ideal world, he would be the team's DH, but that spot is occupied for the Dodgers for right now. But if Muncy keeps giving you those bombs with an 800 OPS, the defense won't matter that much. However, he is getting a little bit older, and he hasn't gotten off to the best start defensively in 2024 in the Soul Series. He is a similar player to Jake Berger and Christopher Morel, but he's just been doing it so much longer that I gotta give him the edge over those two players. Although at the end of 2024, I do think Morel and Jake Berger have a great chance to be above Muncy in this list. Number 11 is going to be Josh Young of the Texas Rangers. Josh Young just missed out on the top 10, but he had a fantastic rookie year nonetheless. He slashed 266 with a 315 on base and a 467 slugging for an OPS of 781 and an OPS plus of 109. He was an all-star and he finished 4th in Rookie of the Year voting. He was also pretty decent in the field, not amazing, but good enough. But if it weren't for the thumb injury he suffered in August, his numbers could have even looked better. After he came back in September, he had a 547 OPS for the rest of the year. So I really hope that injury is behind him and we see a full healthy season from him this year. Starting off the top 10 is going to be Matt Chapman of the San Francisco Giants. Matt Chapman had a very polarizing year. What started off as promising with the bat ended up in tremendous disappointment. He was red hot in April where he had an OPS of 1150, and in July he had an OPS of 907, but he didn't have another month the rest of the year where he had an OPS above 700. And overall, he finished with an OPS plus of 108. The good news is that he still hits the ball incredibly hard. He's still a tremendous fielder. He won his 6th Gold Glove, which is saying something, and he accumulated 12 defensive runs saved. Now, because he hits the ball so hard, I'm still a Matt Chapman believer, and I think he's going to have a much better year in 2024. Coming in at number 9 is going to be Isaac Paredes of the Tampa Bay Rays. Now, he had a big year in 2023 and broke out for 31 home runs in his first full season, as well as slashing 250 with a 352 on base and a 488 slug for an 840 OPS and a 131 OPS plus. He's very good at taking walks and limiting strikeouts. He's not a tremendous fielder, but he is above average out there. The one thing that scares me about Isaac Paredes is the way he hit for power. His expected stats are a lot lower. He's a very big pull hitter, and if you look at his spray chart, all of his home runs are just in the left field corner. Now, there's a chance that this is just the type of player he is, and if he does it again in the same way, I will happily eat my words. But for now, he's number 9 on the list. Number 8 is going to be Royce Lewis of the Minnesota Twins. Now, this might be very aggressive considering he's never played over half a season, but Royce can be that good. Last year, in just 58 games, he had 15 home runs with a 921 OPS and a 150 OPS plus. Granted, that's not a full season, but those are impressive numbers, and he does it in the clutch as well. He had 4 home runs and 22 at-bats in the 2023 playoffs. He's also decent in the field, 2 defensive runs saved in 2023 in limited time. Maybe it's unrealistic to have him in the top 10, but if he gives you a full season, I really do think he's better than all the guys I listed underneath him. I am ecstatic to see Royce Lewis in a full season this year, hopefully. Number 7 is going to be Ke'Bryan Hayes of the Pittsburgh Pirates. It's time to put some respect on Ke'Bryan's name, and maybe 7th on the list is not even enough respect. He was quietly one of the best third basemen in the game last year, and he's always been known for his glove, but he started to put it together at the plate last year. He had 15 home runs with an OPS of 762, and this was the first year he had an OPS plus above league average. We all know about his glove. 17 outs above average and 21 defensive runs saved. That is unbelievable defensively. This was the guy I was talking about when I mentioned why Ryan McMahon didn't win a Gold Glove. It's because of this guy right here. And if he takes another step forward with the bat, he's cracking the top 5, no doubt. Maybe even the top 3. Number 6 is going to be Rafael Devers of the Boston Red Sox. And Devers had another fantastic year with the Sox. He slashed 271 with a 351 on base with a 500 slugging for an OPS of 851 and an OPS plus of 126. He won his 2nd Silver Slugger in the last 3 years and received MVP votes for the 2nd straight year. He has just been super consistent the last couple years and hasn't had an OPS lower than 850. But where he struggles is with the glove. He's never been a great fielder. He had -9 defensive runs saved and -6 last year and a -9 outs above average. But he is not here to field. He is in the Red Sox lineup to match. I would love to see him improve on his defensive side of the game, but that's what's going to keep him out of the top 5 for now. Coming in at number 5 is going to be Nolan Arenado, and he did not have the typical Arenado year. He slashed 266 with a 315 on base and a 459 slugging percentage for a 774 OPS plus of 109, and all of those are well below his career norms. He did still hit 26 home runs and 26 doubles. Now, when I think of Nolan Arenado, I think that even when he has a down year at the plate, he will still play amazing defense, but that wasn't the case this year. This is the first year he didn't win the Gold Glove in the National League and only had 1 defensive run saved compared to 19 in 2022. I'm really hoping this isn't the start of the decline for the future Hall of Famer. He's just been so good for so long. I really hope he can bounce back next year because I'm not ready for Arenado to drop outside the top 5. Number 4 is going to be Alex Bregman of the Houston Astros. I think Alex Bregman has quietly become one of the more underrated third basemen in baseball. He had a very decent year last year. He had a 262 average with a 363 on base and a 441 slugging percentage for an OPS plus of 122. He had 25 home runs and had 98 RBI. Now, Bregman is not the guy from 2018 to 2019 anymore where he can pop 41 home runs, but overall, he's a great hitter. He takes his walks. It's his second year in a row with more walks than strikeouts, and he's really solid in the field too. He had 5 defensive runs saved and 2 outs above average last year. He's entering his age 30 season, which is also his contract year, so I'm expecting another fantastic season in Houston for Alex Bregman. Coming in at number 3 is going to be Manny Machado of the San Diego Padres, and similar to Arenado, Machado seemed to have a bit of a down year as well, but to a way lesser degree. He still had a very good year, and he still played really good defense with 4 defensive runs saved and 11 outs above average. He had 30 home runs with a 782 OPS and a 115 OPS plus. This is down, however, from an 897 OPS and a 157 OPS plus. Manny is still a tremendous player, and I think we see a bit of a bounce back from him this year. It might just seem like it was a big step back because he had a tremendous year in 2022, but he still had a very good year on both sides of the ball. It's weird to think he's already 31, but he's been around since 2012. Number 2 is going to be Austin Riley of the Atlanta Braves. Now, Riley has emerged as one of the best third basemen in the last couple years. He had 37 home runs last year with a slash line of 281, 345, and a 516 slugging percentage for an OPS of 861 and a 128 OPS plus. And he's just been so consistent the last 3 years. He's made the All-Star game 2 straight times. He's won 2 Silver Sluggers in the past 3 years. He's been top 7 in MVP votes for the last 3 years. He was always thought to be somewhat of a liability in the field, but has made really impressive strides out there. He had 0 outs above average, but he had 9 defensive runs saved last year. He's an absolute force at third base, and he has definitely earned the number 2 position. He's not only one of the best third basemen in baseball, he's one of the best players in baseball. I really wanted to put him number 1, but I just don't think I can do that just yet. And that's because of Jose Ramirez of the Cleveland Guardians. He is just the definition of a complete player and has been doing it for so long. And last year he slashed 282 with a 356 on base with a 475 slugging percentage for an 831 OPS and a 131 OPS plus. He was an all-star and he was top 10 in the MVP voting. And he has been top 4 in the MVP voting 4 times since 2017. He just does everything. He hits for power. He steals bases. He's always a 30-30 threat. Last year he walked as much as he struck out, which I love. He's just been so good for so long. You can make an argument that Riley could take his place at number 1 because Riley's been consistent for the last 3 years, but J-Ram has been there for almost twice as long. And I just think we're going to continue to see it. And I just think he's going to have another fantastic season. There is no doubt that third base is one of the deepest positions out there. It was a very tough list to make, so let me know in the comments what you agree with, what you disagree with. Make sure to like the video and subscribe if you want to see more content. You might be watching this on opening day, and if you are, happy opening day to you.